This is the beginning of me holding myself to a higher level of accountability, no matter what the situation is. So, this is officially the first meeting on time as scheduled. You feel me? In accordance with the calendar that's in the school. So we're gonna stick to this schedule. I'm gonna stick to this schedule. If there's a meeting scheduled, I'm on it. I'm in there. You feel me? So this is what I'm doing today. This is a question and answer session. And since I am the only person up in the building at this moment, it's all good. I'm going to present a question to y'all that I had to the Most High this morning or on this sun rising occasion, right? So my question to the Most High was, all right, now first off, I woke up and I looked at this paperwork that I had, right? So I look at this paperwork I had. How you doing, Dorothy?
Hi.
How you doing? So I'm into the midst of this story this morning, heaven high. So I wake up and this is a question and answer session, okay? You can ask questions. Yet there was no one initially here, so I initially want to just propose to y'all a question that I proposed to the Most High this morning on this beautiful sunrise day, shall we say? So today, as I arose, I asked the Most High. I'm saying, look, I've been working on this federal recognition paperwork. In my heart of heart, as I pretty much got done this morning on this day. Been working for about 2 weeks on it, and I get done. And once I get done, I knew that I didn't want to submit it because I know that federal recognition is a dependent nation status. It's pretty much a welfare state. You become a welfare state, literally, not just a welfare individual, but you just signed all your people up to be a welfare state. It technically is a dependent nation. And for those reasons, I just knew I didn't want to do it. Yet I looked at that information. I'm like, this is some solid information that could still serve our purpose of communicating who we are to people, right? And to other beings and other societies, right? Now, my question then became to the Most High. All right, Most High, I've been trying to distinguish myself and distinguish what we're doing so people can see what we're really attempting to do. And what we were attempting to do is literally be a real government for the people. Now, when you're a government for the people, that means you're providing services, right? Key services they can rely on. And that's pretty much what it is. You feel me, Dorothy? Minimal
Yes, this
feedback.
started breaking up
All right.
like a little. It could be
Yeah,
my signal, but I heard
but it
the
could be my signal.
part where
Okay.
you
Can you hear me now?
say trying to figure out how to be a real government for the people, and it started
Wow.
warping a little bit on my end.
Okay, no problem, no problem. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
cool. So I'll just pick up there. What I'm saying is, thanks. So what I'm saying is, I had the question: how could I make sure that the true goal is actually happening? We can really serve people and actually get substance also for the group, you know. And at the end of the day, I just feel like we got to do something drastic because I'm looking at the laws, and from what we know, right, every state have a negotiable instrument law, right, where they clearly show you what qualifies as a negotiable instruments in their state. You're aware of that, right, Dorothy?
I'm listening. Um, I don't know where
Okay,
that would
okay.
be
So
found. Yeah.
Okay, all you would have to do to find it, and that's a good statement. I don't want the computer to like get all choppy on me, so I'm not gonna just start sharing my screen and showing you. But I would say, all you would have to do, right, is type on Google, open Google, and write negotiable instruments code for the state of, and type the state, right? So if you say negotiable instruments code for Illinois or negotiable instruments code for Florida, whatever state, that's all you have to do. You Google that, and a quick Google search, you're going to see the statute or the code in that state, right? That specifically is in that state, and it goes over exactly what constitutes a negotiable instrument, right? And that's very important because all currency, all forms of currency are negotiable instruments, other than the like digital tokens, right? Nevertheless, United States dollars are negotiable instruments. Federal Reserve notes are negotiable instruments. Stocks, most bonds, most of all of the collateral that's accepted as collateral at the Federal Reserve window is negotiable instruments. Contracts we receive that we're negotiating is negotiable instruments. So that's literally essentially the money supply in the state. So they're giving you exactly the code to follow if you want to be able to issue that. All I'm here to say is, um, let me actually share the screen. Let's just have some faith here, because sometimes when I'm sharing the screen it gets choppy. But I just want to show you. I'll show you a law, and then the terms. And why am I bringing this up? Because I'm like, we got to do something drastic, and that I know is real. And what I know is real is since these laws are real, right? What people are experiencing is they they may attempt to enforce their rights, but before you can enforce your rights, you have to issue or present an instrument. So they're presenting an instrument. A lot of people are questioning, is that instrument lawful, or is it drafted the right way? Am I following the right law? So I say to get over that really quickly, right? You got to know different codes is for different situations. So if you're in a state and the company you're paying or discharging the debt with is in that state, it's the state code. That state code is relevant. If you're in a state, the other state is a different state than you, then that's an international transaction. That's when you can look at the international, bills of exchange or United States federal level law, right? It's pretty much that simple. It, you can look at the state law if you're dealing with state business. If it's crossing multiple states, you can look at the federal law and or international law, to find a code to see how to issue that document, right? Um, for instance, let me just give you a plain example, because this is very important. Because once people can see, it's marked for us to clearly see the what's a lawful negotiable instrument. And what's also amazing about um, these laws is that in the negotiable instrument codes, they tell you about how to enforce it, how to transfer it, every possible thing that you would need to know. For instance, what state are you in? Give me a state, or you don't have to say, just give me a state and I'll pull it up for you.
Florida.
Okay, so we were there. Negotiable instrument laws of Florida. So boom, the code is going to pull up quick. Chapter 673 is the negotiable instrument laws. So Florida statute, boom. So what you'll notice, okay, 673 section 1041. All right. So the Florida statute, boom. Uniform Commercial Code, negotiable instruments. Bow. This is where you need to be for whatever state you're dealing with. This is gonna, first off, basically when I ask the Most High, what can I do to help people get this done? Like, and what can we do that's drastic that actually cause a major effect, and we can like get some real shit done here, instead of everybody trying to fight their own battles. It's like, look, what you can do is make sure people know what this shit means. First off, make sure people know that in every state that they're in, all they got to do is pull up the code, go to negotiable instruments. It's going to show you. Negotiable instrument means an unconditional promise or order to pay. Mostly every state is the same. It says the same thing in every state. Watch, right? It says the term negotiable instrument means an unconditional promise or order to pay a fixed amount of money with or without interest or other charges, right? Described in the promise or order. If it what it gives you the things that it has to, the requirements listed here too. So you can literally just create you a checklist and make sure you're creating a document that checks all the lists that's necessary, and you're good. So what else does it have to do? It has to be payable to the bearer or to the order at the time it is issued or first comes into possession of a holder. So it has to be payable immediately, not like no long-term maturity dates, right? So it's payable on demand or payable upon possession, right? You can have those words on there to satisfy that. It's payable on demand or at a definite time, right? And so make it payable on demand, payable to the bearer or an order, you satisfy A and B. Does not state any other undertakings or instructions by the person promising or ordering payment to do any act in addition to payment of the money, but the promise or order may contain. So it's saying it can't say, okay, I got to do some extra shit, but it can say that you have the power to give, maintain, and protect collateral to secure payment. So it can have like a collateral agreement attached to it, or terms of saying that there's a collateral attached to it. It also could authorize or provide power to the holder to confess judgment or realization on or dispose of the collateral. So it could also say, okay, the holder has the right to, recoup the collateral. You feel me? Or obtain the property, get the collateral, right? And it says the term instrument means a negotiable instrument, right? But those are the things. That's literally it. And now they get into more details, literally. An order that meets all the requirements of subsection 1, which they just went over, right? Is just what? A document essentially that's an unconditional promise or unconditional order to pay a specific amount of money payable to the bearer on demand, literally just that, and you got yourself a lawful negotiable instrument. And then it just gets into more details, right, about check, um and tellers and travelers checks. Now we're dealing with specific, these instruments have these terms because they're specifically dealing with a bank now, right? And the definition is talking about things that are payable and drawn on a bank. When it starts talking about cashier's checks and checks, they start bringing in the word bank. But when they're talking about notes, everything here and above, just note, promise orders, promissory note, unconditional orders. There's not this, anyone can issue these. This is not distinguishing that you have to be a bank. But once you start using terms like check, cashier's check, teller's check, you're letting you know this is all about banking. Well, specifically, a bank is drawn on a bank or issued by a bank. You'll see the word bank. So, what does that mean? Any man, woman, or child could issue negotiable instruments to discharge their debts. Now, how do you know you can discharge your debts? Well, just go to the entire chapter. Once you're in that place, right, you'll see the chapter where that code and negotiable instruments was at, and now they'll tell you everything about it. This is the key in every state, right? You have general provisions, but this is the key: negotiation, transfer, and endorsement, right? You want to know about what's negotiation, when is my transfer, and what is an endorsement. Enforcement of the instrument, what do I have to do to enforce it? Who's liable for what, right? What happens if they dishonor it? Discharge and payment, when does the debt actually get discharged, right? This is the same law in every state. Now, basically, what I'm realizing is that we have to simplify, because for those of us who know, I'm realizing as I talk to more and more people, it just seems way more complex than it really is. It's this simple though. If like literally a third grader, if you have a third grader from a third, I say if you can read, as long as you can read, you can know this, you can master this. So as long as you're at reading comprehension level, then you could learn how to do this. And think about what they're looking to do. A lot of people, they want to make sure that things are discharged, right? That's part 7. I mean, that's part 6. So let's go down to part 6 where it speaks of discharge. Well, let me go up a little more to see. Okay, it's 673.6. So 673.1, point 2, whatever. Let's get to point 6. 4.6. Okay, discharge. Now, this is how you know. Everybody say, I need to discharge my debts or I want to pay my bills. Listen, this is the system. Everybody knows HJR, 192. There's no gold. You can't specify how somebody has to pay. That's why negotiable instrument is not a specific label. When you look at this law, it's just the principles of what has to be part of an instrument in order for it to discharge a debt or be something that could pay something. There's no specific term. It doesn't say bill of exchange. It doesn't say promissory note even. It doesn't say any term. Why? Because in this country, all throughout the country, you cannot make somebody have to pay with any specific type of payment. You can dishonor it, and if you dishonor it, the debt is anyway. So the discharge occurs. So let's get back to this discharge, right? Because that's really what I wanted to show. I think I didn't pass it up. Liabilities of parties years after that. Dishonor.
Yeah, I
Okay.
saw something where it said discharged by renunciation or cancellation. I was like, okay.
Yeah, so and this is in every state, okay? Discharge and payment. Discharge by renunciation was probably before this, but let's look. Okay, it's here, right? Discharge in effect of a discharge, payment, tender of payment, discharge by cancellation and renunciation, discharge by
Yeah. Hmm.
discharge of endorsers and accommodation parties. Now, this right here, what I realized, this is the goal for everybody. Look, everybody just needs to read this. This is all people need to know. And I'm not excited like I just realized this, but I'm knowing that I've always seen this and known this. Yet the problem occurs when we complex things. We make it complex. We got too many sources of information. We're learning theories instead of law, and we're not really realizing that there's primary sources that we can deal with. So look,
Hmm.
discharge and effective discharge. The obligation of a party to pay the instrument is discharged as stated in this chapter or by an act or agreement with the party which would discharge an obligation to pay money under a simple contract. So that's the key. First, we need to realize that this is all basically laws under a simple contract. So once you understand simple contract law and the principles of simple contract, you can go deeper and just, if you want to be magical, just understand the principles. Because while people are stuck on policies and procedures aren't even the law. The law is the law, and the law comes from principles. So for instance, this is the law, but this is all law actually bears reverence to natural law. That's what people don't even know. All true
Hmm.
law bears reverence to natural law. So if it bears
Right.
reverence to natural law, it's going to point to some principles that's operating. And as long as you understand the principles, you can't go wrong. You can do magic because you just got to keep on utilizing those principles. And you might call instruments whatever you want to call them, or they may have whatever types of terms you need them to have. But as long as they have the minimal qualifications and they're not disqualified under the terms and conditions of the state code, you got yourself a discharging instrument and some payment instrument and money. You feel me?
Hmm.
Like it's that simple. So discharge of an obligation of a party is not effective against a person acquiring rights of a holder in due course of the instrument without notice of a discharge. So you got to provide notice of a discharge, right? Um, if it's a person who really acquired the rights of holder in due course of the instrument, right? So basically, somebody deserves to have the instrument; they're supposed to have it. You want to give them notice of a discharge, right? If it's discharged, payment. They're talking about an instrument is paid to the extent payment is made by or on behalf of a party obliged to pay the instrument. You know, the obligation of a party to pay the instrument is not discharged under Section 1 if a claim to the instrument under what look, I'm excited. I'm not excited, but I low key don't want to read everything. I just want you to know that this is where the knowledge is at. This is where the knowledge is at, right? This is where it's at.
Hmm.
And when people really want to get somewhere, like just know that this is real. The tender of payment method. Like when people talking about this debt is lawful tender for, like this note is lawful tender for all debts, public and private. When you see
Hmm.
that, that's, you can put that on your own note, right? You could say this note is lawful tender for all debts, public and private. You could do that legally if you realize what tender means. It says
Right.
tender, if tender of payment, it's an action word. Tender is the process of you presenting a negotiable instrument to discharge a debt. That's what it is. It's an
Mm.
action word. It's not a noun, right? So it's a type of noun. It's a type of payment, right? It's a payment due to the process of presenting it. For instance, if tender of payment of an obligation to pay an instrument is made to a person entitled to enforce the instrument, the effect of tender is governed by principles of law applicable to tender of payment under a simple contract, right? If tender of payment of an obligation to pay an instrument is made to a person entitled to enforce the instrument and the tender is refused, there is discharge. Now that is what discharge, what everybody talking about, discharge my debts, discharge my debts, discharge my debts. This is the only type of thing they're talking about. They're talking about when I give somebody instrument to pay them off and they refuse it, it's discharge. That's what that means.
Mm,
Okay.
right.
673.6031. What that is, that's your insurance policy to know, even if these motherfuckers don't accept it, and even no matter what the fuck they talking about when they get this motherfucker. And I just gotta say it like that. As long as you
Mm-hmm.
know you following the code of that state and they in that state and they held accountable to that code, well, there you go. I issued it to them, they got it, they refused it, there's discharge. What? To the extent of the amount of the tender. So the tender shows the presentment in the presentation that when I sent it over to your ass in this, and transferred it in accordance with the laws, right? Because you can go up to transfer, okay,
Mm-hmm.
liabilities of the parties. And this is always like just the Bible of money in that state. It's always the Negotiable Instruments Act. I mean, law in that state, and it's not that deep. So negotiation, transfer, and endorsement. So transfer of instrument, rights acquired by its transfer. An instrument is transferred when it is delivered by a person other than its issuer for the purpose of giving to the person receiving delivery the right to enforce the instrument. What? The instrument is transferred. Let me read that again. When it is delivered by a person other than its issuer. So I issued it, but somebody else delivered it for the purpose of giving to the person receiving delivery. So somebody delivering it for me to the receiving party, and they're giving them the right to enforce the instrument. Okay, cool. So as long as I gave a delivery person delivered it for me, boom, it's transferred. Transfer of an instrument, whether or not the transfer is a negotiation, vests in the transferee any right of the transferor to enforce the instrument. So when I gave them that instrument, now they got the right to enforce the instrument now, including any right as a holder in due course, meaning the right to have that value, the beneficial owner right, equitable right in the interest of that asset. But the transferee cannot acquire rights of a holder in due course by a transfer directly or indirectly from a holder in due course if the transferee engaged in fraud or illegality affecting the instrument. Boom. So what does that mean? If the person who received the instrument engaged in fraud or illegality in order to get it, they technically lawfully cannot be the holder in due course. So they can't get the rights, whether they got the document or not. So it gets deep, but this is the core aspect of knowing what money is in the state in which you're dealing with, right? And as you learn about enforcement and discharge, right? Because we're down here, and what to do when they dishonor it, right? Presentment is pretty much like transfer. The term presentment means a demand made by or on behalf of a person entitled to enforce the instrument. So I got the instrument and I want to demand something, demand you to pay or demand you to do something, demand you to do whatever I got the right to demand you to do. Okay. To pay an instrument made to the drawee or party obliged to pay the instrument, or in the case of a note or accepted draft payable to a bank, to to the bank, or to accept the draft made to the drawee. Anyway, let me not. Okay, let me just keep going because this is about a solution. I don't want to get too deep, but the answers are here. The answers of what a
Mm-hmm.
musical instrument really are and what you really got to follow is just right here in your state code, right? So when people talking about international bills of exchange and all that shit is irrelevant if you're in Georgia doing business with a Georgia company. You need to just go ahead and go to the Georgia Act. If you're in Florida doing business with a Florida business, then you need to do this. Even if you're a foreign entity doing business in Georgia with somebody, go ahead and follow that Georgia code because that's what they are held accountable to. That's what they held liable to, right? So I just want to show that's the source of all of these documents that actually are lawful. Like um when you're thinking of, like, let me go to a discharging instrument, right? Let me pause this first and then pull the instrument up just because I don't want to. I'm gonna pause the screen share for a second. But how you feel so far just hearing that little moment?
Yeah, I feel I knew about it. I just didn't know that it was available in the code. And one thought that came to mind was like a coupon as an example. You know what I mean? Is a coupon, you know what I mean? If I have a store and someone comes in and they don't have the show that they have the coupon, they don't tender it over, now they have to pay full price. You know what I mean? So technically creating like our own version of coupons that will totally wipe out the requirement for other payments.
Yeah, exactly, because that's the way the system is set up for. That's the way the system
Mm-hmm.
created. This is a system of unlimited wealth. This system
Right.
allows you to naturally, automatically have the tool that you need to discharge any debt that you get into.
Right.
It that's just the way that the system is set up, and that's actually a beautiful thing. Now, what I'm about to do here, right, is just pull up an example of a lawful something that meets the code that we're
Mm-hmm.
looking at, right, and just provide an example. In Georgia law and the other laws, as you read more, um, I noticed that it's stated it's had some other requirements, like you have to provide them notice. I mean, you have to let it be open and clear that you are like issuing this to discharge the debt in full. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
You have to do that. There's a couple of more terms that you have to have. So what I'm doing is I'm just getting a document ready to
Yeah,
show
go ahead. And
me.
then my question, we didn't go over it, but the comment about cancellation or renunciation is discharge as well. So even if that's dealing with, like, if you already have a contract, right, and you want to cancel it, so that's something I'm looking to do ASAP with a car that I purchased because I put everything in brackets. So I want to go back and do a cancellation of the contract and let them know I technically never really signed it. So the fact that a renunciation and cancellation will discharge it is something that I want to use that option as well. Sorry.
Yeah, that's definitely real, and I'm willing. Yeah, we
Hmm.
can look specifically into that code and make sure that we do that. You feel me?
And then with what you're doing now, like if you have you go to purchase something and there's no contract yet, but you get the actual um, agreement or the request for the payment, and then using a negotiable instrument to discharge the requirement to pay.
Yeah, and that's acquiring houses, cars, or whatever debt you incur, right?
Mm-hmm. I
Fully
love it.
mortgage payments or whatever. So here we go. Finna continue. I'm happy that you love it because it's finna get real serious, real
Yes.
fast. And let's explain. So if I go to payment, right? This is a document, for instance, following the law of what we just read. Like if I really go to the Texas law, because I did this one in accordance to Texas laws, you can see it says this note is a negotiable instrument lawfully issued in accordance with the law of Texas, right? And then down here says this note is legal tender and is a negotiable instrument as defined. And then I actually put the code of negotiable instrument. That's it. That's like we're gonna read this. Like, let's explain what's going on. It could be called anything. Remember, it doesn't have to have a name. They never gave a name in the code. You remember?
Mm-hmm.
They gave except for certain like cashier's checks and those things were because banks were dealing with them. But negotiable instrument, it defines a type of instrument. Now, if you want to, it would like to be honest. Let me show you how simple this shit is. Like just to make it basic for people's mentalities. Look, I'll put negotiable instrument up here.
Mm.
Fuck, like, cause who says I can't, right? I'll put the word negotiable instrument there to keep it real clear who's issuing it. So this is what we're here to do. We're here to issue this from our tribal government on behalf of all members for anything they need to pay. That's what we're ready to do at zero cost, donation only. If you got a donation, donate. If you don't, fuck it. You feel me? Like literally, whatever
Mm-hmm.
the bill is that you have, if you're a member, we're willing to issue it from our central bank. So if there is any liability, we'd have it, not you. You ain't putting yourself in a hot seat. You feel me? So
Right.
the extra thing for the people who get nervous in the back of the classroom, who reading and or in the middle, or the people in the front, but they've been there 18 years and it's only a 4-year program. It's like, listen, you're just nervous. You're scared of the boogeyman at this point. Like,
Right.
for you to not be scared of the boogeyman, This is what we use. And I don't care if people copy and paste. I don't give a fudge cake. They put their own name on this because if they see the video, it don't matter. But this is what we're doing, right? It's a
Mm-hmm.
negotiable instrument. It's telling them to remit this thing at the value that it states here. None of that is a no lawful requirement. Payable through is not a lawful requirement. But what we do here, because in our tribe, for our economic development, every tribe immediately has a family trust. So this would be your family trust. Okay, so your family trust name will be there because that's the account that we have on file with our central bank that we're paying it through. You feel me? Because we
Mm-hmm.
automatically give you an unlimited line of credit to discharge any and all debt. So that's how we roll in our tribe. That's why we do this. And on behalf of you, you don't even got to do it. You just send us the bill and we send this to the people who need to get it on your behalf. So, and they have to contact us to talk about this, not necessarily you. So you don't have to necessarily be held in the hot seat in the order communications seat. So let me just get through this. This is not a technical
Mm.
this is not a technical requirement in the law, but this is our way of looking at it. It's payable through your trust. We're the people who are issuing it, right? The central bank of our tribe, right? It's an now this is when it comes to the requirements. The requirement said it has to be an unconditional order or unconditional promise to pay, right? It's an order. A money order is anytime you're ordering a third party to do something on your behalf. So
Mm.
this is the trust ordering the tribe's central bank to pay this on their behalf. It's basically what they say the Department of Treasury is supposed to do for all the citizens of the United States, right? But if you're not
Mm-hmm.
a citizen and you're trying to get them to do it anyway, I don't want to speak of that. The point is, this is it. We have our tribe, our government handles the bills for our people in accordance with the law of the recipient. So we know we paying somebody in California. We're going to follow the California law when we issue this, right? Because we're tribal
Mm-hmm.
in that location. So the point is, it's an unconditional order to pay. So we're ordering a third party to pay on demand. Remember, we saw the two out of the three requirements. It said it has to be an unconditional order or promise. It has to be on demand to the bearer or and it's going to be on demand too. Boom, the specific person name is going to be here, so that satisfies that a specific amount, right? And it has to be done in good faith, so it's letting them know it's done in good faith here. It has to be, you have to let them know that that you're issuing this for as full compensation to discharge a debt. So that's there, that requirement is there. So that's a requirement. This is a requirement, right? And now this
Mm.
is an addition when they said that it could be associated or secured by collateral. This is that. This instrument is guaranteed by transferable credits, which are currently held by a new Bank of Brahman in trust and are governed by UCP 600. Don't fucking play with us. Listen, I'm ready to stand up against the World Bank, the IMF, anybody who want to question these bills. Let's go to court. That's what I'm on right now. I need a bunch of
Yes.
deals to send this shit off for, and let's push this shit to the maximum capacity of the United States of the Galactical Federation of Cosmic Love. Fuck what they talking
Yes.
about.
Yes, sir.
So literally, because now I mean, like they're gonna have to change their whole laws in order for this to be illegal. Okay, so we're giving the information to their asses. You're the fiduciary collector. Yeah, you collecting this. Okay, this is some information that's attached to this. All this shit is for you to realize. This notice is a negotiable instrument, mugs, according to the law where you at. And we'll give you the code. Now I ain't putting no more codes in there. I know a lot of people stacking up with codes, but that's all I need to let them know. I'm letting them know that. Now I'm putting the elements in here for them to realize. Okay, I need you to post the uncollected funds into an asset column of this account and charge the offer and acceptance for settlement. Just it's prepaid and exempt when entered into the post closing balance. It's done. Close the account.
Mm-hmm.
Is a wrap. This statement constitutes maker's order to pay. We're ordering to pay you the instrument upon presentment and endorsement. as an operation of the law, payee tacitly consents and agrees that there is accord and satisfaction by use of this instrument to satisfy the payee's claim, and the maker is hereby discharged from liability on this account, and the obligation is suspended in accordance with law. We know the law.
Yeah.
Maker does not waive timeliness, meaning hurry up and get this shit done. However, if the payee needs additional time, payee must present maker with a written request for additional time within a reasonable time, setting forth the reason the payee request of setting forth the reason the payee requests an extension of time with good cause shown. Basically, if you need some extra time to do what you're supposed to do and balance them books, then just let us know, and I gotta approve it. Because if I don't approve it, it ain't approved. The acceptability of any such request by maker from payee is conditional upon approval by the maker. You gotta, hey, I gotta approve you asking for some extra time to do what you're supposed to do. The instrument is tendered as full satisfaction of the claim. You gotta let them know that. You gotta let them know in an open way that this is being issued as full satisfaction of the claim. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
In the event this instrument is not presented for payment within a reasonable period of time and there has been no request for an extension of time with good cause shown, payee tacitly consents and agrees that maker has satisfied discharged the debt claim in regards to this alleged account. Payee tacitly consents and agrees that payee has a duty to prevent this debt instrumentary obligation from damaging maker in any way, and the payee confesses judgment, and maker reserves the right to initiate a counterclaim against payee and to file a claim for a bond against any responsible party, including payee and all principals, agents, and assignments of payee who acts, commissions, result in tort damages against the maker. Should this note be dishonored and or not be honored, this letter is further presentment and serves as notice of dishonor in accord with the law of notice of dishonor. So we stacked it deep. We ain't selling it cheap. It's pretty much, it's like, what do you do when this is the truth? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. It's definitely the truth. It makes a lot of sense now, based on what I know that why it works.
So now, because of that, what I want to do as a tribe is Love Nation, right? I literally just want to, like, because we got a lot of people. I ain't gonna even say a lot of people because we're a small group at this moment. But most of the members in the group are perceiving they need economics, and it's been very difficult for me to just show them we have all this money is real, this credit is real. People, it's hard, even though that law is there, and I just drew that because this is the truth. I mean, the thing is, they got us they used to have some people in a lack mindset so much that it just seems crazy. Like if I say there goes $1 million right there, you feel me?
Mm-hmm.
If I say, okay, we needed 100 million, it's that simple, and change this word to 100 million, and whatever that debt was, that's what it's about. Let's make this shit happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then enforce it, because now the recipient, because everything's accounted, they received it, they get to put it on their books, they can file taxes for it, all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
If they need this to end up in their bank account, they can do it. This is an acceptable form of collateral when it comes to bank deposits at the Federal Reserve.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It is.
So at the end and the beginning of the day, I literally perceive the best thing we can do for people is just what just happened. Let them know whatever state. Like, I want to just be live. I mean, the way I really want it is just like everybody needs to know. Like, everybody needs to know. You could call in at any time. What state are you in? I'll show you the law. What's your bills? Pull it up. I issue the document. Send it to you right then. Like, people need to see that. Like, when I say we here we gonna get ours. We gonna get ours. It's the Most High gonna get us what we need to sustain and what we need to be who we are. Yeah, people need to have an example of real concern, care, love, and urgency. It's an urgency matter of urgency for y'all to get y'all bills paid. You're right.
Right.
So why the fuck is you going to work still? 17 years and days and months, and you supposed to, the system is sit here for you to issue this document. Now, when it comes to us getting what we need to get back, that's for us to master as a group, because we master it one time, we good. What do I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If we want to liquidate this for us, they talking about, okay, technically we supposed to be capable of sending things like this to the Treasury and giving them wire instructions for the Treasury to send the money via, the wire system to the bank accounts of people, right? Let's just, that's not even just a theory, because as I researched, let me just go here and see if it pulls up. Like, because as I researched remittance, what is it? Remittance process, IRS, Department of Treasury manuals, right? This is just a general search. I threw a bunch of words out here. Yeah, here we go. Manual deposit process and remittances, right? what I realize, and I go through for the field office payment processors, I look at the stuff that the IRS used to govern the people who doing the service, right? So, like for instance, if we're saying that now we're on to another level here talking, but if the United States Department of Treasury is responsible for discharging and handling the obligations of the United States people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then exactly what we're saying we're here to do for the people, meaning they could contact us, tell us that and we'll issue this on their behalf. That's exactly what some people claiming that the Treasury does. And this information, I believe, could be solved if we get deep into these aspects of the Internal Revenue Code. I'm talking about extreme focus on a couple of subjects that matter. Literally, like it's only a couple subjects that really matter. Because just imagine you, whoever you are right now, imagine you even 60 days from now, right? With 20 more million liquid dollars in your bank account because you sent the right document to the right agency, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you weren't any further in anything that you're working on now, and all you had was that $20 million in that account, would you rather have the $20 million in that account after, say, 2 months of mastering what this is, or would you rather just keep doing what you're doing? What's your, in 2 months, which route do you think you'd be better off?
Mm-hmm.
That's the question that people got to ask themselves. Okay, this is taking like a while to load because of a bunch of because I got tabs open and I'm live, and this computer over here ain't that spiffy jiffy. Yet the point is, if we want the IRS to issue us some checks, I say we look into this type of stuff. You know, the Guide to the Federal Government ACH programs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Process for manual deposits, right? The remittance processes with the IRS. And we'll see how we can, if we like, okay, I want to do that, right? So for instance, we could discharge debts, we realize, by issuing this document. Let's keep it simple. We could discharge this debts like that. But say I'm discharging the debt to you. Say your company just did some consultation for me, right? I say, listen, I need some consultation. How much you charge? You be like, look, I charge $1 million an hour. And I was like, shit, I'm willing to pay. Okay, I'll issue you this negotiable instrument. All right. Now, it's issued to pay to the order of you, right? So say it's your name here, right? And I'm going to say the name of your U.S. person. Let's just keep it more simple, right? Well, actually, they discharged U.S. debts. So say you wanted to get a service from me. Well, how can I put this? Let me switch it up. Say I wanted to, say my U.S. person wanted to get a service from one of your companies, right? Let's put it like that, right? So because it's a U.S. debt, if it's my U.S. person who's in debt, then what the theory is, and you see I'm saying theory now, I ain't pulled up the law and said this is exactly where it's at, because I know I have to find it. I know if it's
Mm-hmm.
I have to find it. And I'm just targeting where I perceive the codes may be, and that's in these manuals, in the deposit process, in the remittance process. Okay, so I'm getting a little deeper into that. Yet, what people are claiming is that you're supposed to be able to send a check to the IRS with payment instructions, and the IRS literally do the wire transfer. Okay, if it's a United States debt. So what that means is, if I owe your company, I should be able to send this, endorse it to the Treasury with wire instructions to your bank account, and you're supposed to get that. Well, 100 million would be a little stranger. Let's say 10 million. Put a good 1 million. Boom, sent straight to you in a matter of a couple weeks. Now, if that is actually the truth, isn't that something worth finding out? Because it will only take us, smart people, literally about 2 days to check fact that shit. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
And if that, see, because we know that the negotiable instrument route is lawful right there. So what we want to do, we want to get skin in the game in court. That's what we got to be coming in this like a championship class team that's coming to win a championship. And we know we win in court. We ready to send their asses all these documents because we know we standing on law, and we're ready for them to act up so we can go to court and smack their asses. Because once we smack their asses and get these settlements, now it's known fact that in that state, this document's going to work every fucking time. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we got to be going at this, like some motherfuckers who ready to go to war with this shit, instead of some people like, oh, I hope they take it. What if they don't take it? Nigga, they ain't gonna take it. They don't need to take it. They can not take it, dishonor it. But what we need to do is go enforce it and go to court and make whatever recourse we supposed to have happen.
Right.
Do that enough times, and you ain't gotta go enforce it no more. When they see your shit come through, they just gonna go ahead and they got their securities attorneys ready. They're gonna send it to their securities account, go and do it like they supposed to do. Liquidate that motherfucker.
It's definitely something that can be done through court, but also outside of court. It's just about knowing the way to set it up. Because I remember I had a bankruptcy going on because I was testing out some stuff, and then I told the electric company that I didn't want, have the money to pay the light bill. That should have been included in bankruptcy. So the lady was like,
Uh,
well, we have a third party company who will, it wasn't a company, it was like a nonprofit. And they said the nonprofit will pay it for you. But we both know they don't really pay anything. So I'm curious to see what they're going to use, and what they use. They literally just sent them some type of remittance coupon and accepted it, and it went straight to the account. But that's all they did was like go in and technically discharge the debt on my behalf as a third party. So that lines up with what you're saying. I doubt they had to go to court with that to get that ability to do that. So
exactly.
that's pretty much what's going on everywhere.
Yeah, I know we can self-administer this. I'm just speaking of, for instance, say
Mhm.
somebody's in a mortgage right now. Because I
Mhm.
want you to I want you to just consciously imagine the onslaught of benefits we could provide to people. That's what excites me. You know what's exciting
Yeah.
me? I want people to get the benefit. I want to
Mhm.
be issuing hundreds and thousands of these, because that's in a month, hundreds of thousands or thousands, because that's what we need. People need to get out of debt, right? And then we need to be able to liquidate these so that the right people could get their payments through the
Mhm.
system that's needed, right? So it's two aspects. We want to be issuing them to get out of debt, and then we want to make sure that the clearing processes in the clearing and settlement process is in alignment for when we're the creditor and people need to be paying us. We want to make sure we getting that and turn that into some cash
Right.
through the system. So because of that, I don't think there's anything else to say here. I think that it's just a realization right now. I'm putting that word out there. I want to do the most massive intake of persons, and I want us to do this and master this, because I perceive that if we just did it and we focused, I mean, imagine between now and Thanksgiving, even, or now and in January 1st or the beginning of the year, this is like holiday season. I want us to think about what's the best way of packaging this or talking about this as a team or communicating this so that people know that it's available for them, and I really am willing to do it. I just said I'm going to do the trust for free, which I did, but it wasn't fun because it wasn't a lot of people. um and it almost, it just wasn't fun because it wasn't a lot of people. So I just want a lot of people to get this, right? Because it's something powerful, and even if it's just
Mhm.
for us, let's run it up. There should
Let's
be
run it up.
nobody in the group who's saying that they need to pay something. We just issue these, and then everybody, let's get ready for enforcement collectively on that, to support each other on their enforcement. And then let's find some houses for sale and issue this shits. Let's find a whole bunch of shit that we can purchase that we essentially need to for our household and family needs.
Okay. I'm down.
All
I'm
right,
down.
this has been a cool meeting. Let's
Okay.
link up later. Talk to me about what we were speaking of yesterday about organizing the health program or the intake program and the legacy and all of that.
Okay. I'm down.
All right, cool. Appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, actually, what time would be cool for you?
Um, what time is it now?
It's 11 here.
Okay, it's not like 8:52 here. So anytime after 11 my time.
Okay, a couple hours. Bet I'll just reach out in a couple hours.
Okay.
All right. Peace. Talk to
All
you
right.
later.
Thanks. Okay. Bye-bye.